The country's ever-rising crime rate continues to affect the public's confidence in the police. The SA Human Sciences Research Council's last year revealed that only 27% of citizens have confidence in the police. And to add salt on the wound, the police department says a staggering 7,000 police officers were arrested between 2018-2019 and the 2022-23 period. The officers were nabbed for various crimes, including murder, rape, and others. For more on the story, I'm joined now by Prof Jacob Mofokeng, who's the head of Safety and Security Management at the Tshwane University of Technology. Professor, very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika, and thank you for your time. What factors do you think have influenced society's perceptions about the police?
Well, good afternoon, Mpho and Newzroom Afrika viewers. Well, the factors that could really been affecting the lack of, distrust towards the South African Police Service could be what has been always in the media. I mean, the manner in which the members of the South African Police Service carry themselves, towards execution of their daily duties. I mean, we've been always talking about professionalism within law enforcement and the manner in which the victims of crime experience the interaction between the South African Police Service and whether they've been carried along, towards the processing of a particular case. In this case, we talk about, whereby they were provided with an update in terms of the process of the case, where the stage of the case. There's been reports whereby people will go to police station to report cases, but only to find that later such cases were withdrawn without the knowledge of the perpetrator. So we see a pattern whereby, the victims of crime were not afforded the opportunity to see the inside of the court. That can only happen whereby, we are talking about the quality service where, the police will be able to not only arrest, the suspects, but also, that process resulting with a positive conviction. So when people are, arrested, of which it has been a trend where, tomorrow they will be on the street, it does affect a lot, the legitimacy of the police. Hence, then we see the cases of, vigilantism increasing, where, people are losing lives because of a lack of trust to say that, what will it help if a case is reported only to find that, in certain circumstances, there will be a lack of a vehicle to be able to attend to a call of assistance in a time where victims are reporting such to the police. So it is very much important that, trust should be, something that as, other civil societies are indicating that it should be prioritized. And how do we prioritize trust? It is whereby, there has to be internal audit, moral audit within law enforcement agencies, whereby they need to indicate or they need to realize that they first need to be, trustworthy, so that eventually then it can cascade to the communities, whereby when they report cases, those cases will be attended, as well as there will be lesser cases where police are alleged of committing, corruptive practices.
How imperative are the decisions that police make, and whether or not they now exercise their positions and authority fairly? I mean, that could be one factor that the public is really scrutinizing before they're able to assess on sometimes whether to report a matter or not, because Stats SA is showing that a number of cases go by unreported, which could perhaps be an indication of the lack of trust and faith community members have in the police system.
Yeah, well, we need to look into a procedural justice, approach whereby, the law enforcement authorities need to be seen to be impartial in terms of the exercising of their duties without really categorizing people based on their, their status or their class or maybe affiliation to a particular political party. If we come to a state where we only attend to cases not because of their priority but because of the status of a particular person, then it means that it will then perceived as if then we are going back to democratic dispensation. We know that before democratic dispensation, the South African police was seen as an extension of the state, whereby the interests of especially the African community were not really important. So in the post-democracy, we need to be seen to be, as a law enforcement agency, need to be seen to be impartial, as well as all cases should be attended. We have seen, the eras of the commissions, in the democratic dispensation. We talk about Moerane Commission, the Zondo Commission, the Western Cape Commission. So for the public to see the state, as effective, as well as being given that, the ability as well as the opportunity to extend the rule of law, it is when now, there is a perception that, there is impartiality in the execution of the duties. But also, I also need to indicate that, trust has also need to be extended in terms of the awareness. The love of material in South Africa has overclouded, education, whereby people who, are seen to be doing underworld activities are the ones that are thriving in South Africa. So we need to emphasize, education, whereby people need to be taken, through, institutionally, whereby they need to be, taught the importance of how are they supposed to, handle themselves. For example, if we look at the moral compass in South Africa, take for in case what happened in 2013 in Nairobi, Kenya, whereby the Westgate shopping mall was under attack. If you look at the phenomena in South Africa, especially in 2021 on the unrest, how people ran to the malls, compared with what happened in Nairobi on the 21st of September, where people were running away from the mall. So we still need to educate the communities in South Africa. It is not only the responsibility of the South African Police Service to bring, stability in the country, but we also need to be able to emphasize that we need to, really look at the moral compass of the communities, because the cases of cash in transit whereby, the communities will run, to that particular van without disregarding, the protecting of the crime scene, the danger of being exposed to explosive. It shows that we still have a lot of work to do in South Africa, both with the law enforcement agencies as well as the entire public.
We're also seeing an increase in the police officers themselves being attacked. I mean, there's an instance where Gauteng cops were attacked while patrolling in Eden Park, and the residents there attacked them when they stopped a vehicle on Thursday. That in itself speaks to perhaps some loopholes in policing models, such as the procedural justice. I mean, what can be learned from such a model so that the perceptions of police are perhaps better understood and that police are seen as fair? Because it doesn't make sense why residents would just go and attack armed police and not, feel any sort of discomfort in doing so.
Yeah, look, it talks about the legitimacy of the police, that once the public then really they do not recognize the office of the police as well as what a police official represent. It brings us to a state of anarchy where people will do and attack police officials without really fearing the consequences of such act. So it is for that reason that I'm also indicating that we also need to look at the moral compass, but also the effectiveness of the criminal justice system, that there needs to be an example made for people like that, because when you attack a police official, when that particular individual is performing official duties, what is it that you expect, to happen? Because at the end of the day, we want these people that are serving us, not to be tempted to, move beyond what is required to be able to exercise their duties. So it means that the respect towards law, as well as those that are, executing such law, is very much important. And we need to create that awareness that we need to allow police officials to perform their duties. And in a case where, we see, imbalances in terms of, injustice towards, that particular performance of duties, we need to come forth and be able to trust the effectiveness of the criminal justice system to be able to bring anyone who seems to be above the law to book. So it is a very holistic that we need to do. Looking at, when you look at global, per country, it is a worrisome to see that South Africa, it is the third behind Venezuela, Papua New Guinea, as well as now the third is South Africa. It shows that there is a high prevalence of crime, and lately we had that because of the inability or maybe the challenges brought by cash in transit, for the South African Police Service. Now they are approaching Brazil, to be able to understand what could be done. So we need to be able to give them the opportunity to perform, but as well as it is our responsibility, for as a public to report the incidents of crime and criminality. In a case where, as we are aware, that some of the whistleblowers are being killed, and, that is an effort, by the underworld to silence and to cripple and to bring fear for those who want to work with the law enforcement agencies. But it is upon all of us, as the citizens of this country, as the public, to hold the police, accountable. It is not enough for the president to set commissions and after that we don't see anything happening. But we need to work, with the government to say that, what has come out of those commissions and what has come out of the investigations and the complaints that we raised at the police stations. So we should not, keep on blaming, law enforcement when actually we are also perpetrators. Look at the demands of certain, you look at the spike of house robberies, house burglaries. So it means that there is a demand for those stolen goods. Yet, we say we don't blame, we do not trust the police. The question is then, are we partaking in crime? And then after that, we point a finger to the other person. So it is a holistic approach in South Africa that for us to see us, moving from the highest levels in terms of global, where criminal networks see South Africa as a haven for crime, where criminal networks are thriving. It means that somewhere we have allowed and we have opened doors to people that bring stolen goods in South Africa, and eventually we are seen to be, a country that is, exercising, impunity in a way that we don't we discredit law enforcement as well as the ability and effectiveness of the criminal justice to be able to execute its duties.
How can police now regain public confidence? What do they need to do to build and sustain public trust? Well,
we need to really emphasize the need that politics, really crippled the effectiveness and credibility of the South African Police Service. There's so much interference from, political, powers, as well as how certain individuals that are aligned to certain politicians are behaving. And we find a house divided within the South African Police Service, whereby those that might be, involved in corruptive practices, they know that, their cases will not go further. So we need to bring credibility. We need to bring, ethical leadership, people that will be able to perform when they are assigned to certain positions. We need to eliminate this thing called blind loyalty, where people are put in positions because they are loyal to certain, kingmakers, so to say, because in that way, then you deny people that are, very good in terms of leadership, who will be able to contribute effectively towards the running of the country. We need less interference of politics within law enforcement realm. We need, where the community's voice will be heard, not only be heard, but seem to be, aligned to the strategic decisions of the law enforcement agencies. We need, political leaders that are not there just to do public relations, and then whereby we need to really, without, being labeled as if, in academia, those that are making reports in terms of the state of the nation, being labeled as if they are recycling ideas, there are attacks against those who are commenting. We need, a table whereby we can all come together to talk about the state of affairs in South Africa, and then where, we can hold politicians, accountable, whereby, it is our responsibility when we are afforded with opportunity, to vote, that we vote for people that they have the interest of the people at heart, not that they are going to enlarge their pockets, as well as, appointing people that are going to sleep on their job. That's what we need in South Africa.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in on this discussion. Professor Jacob Mofokeng, Head of the Department of Safety and Security Management at the Tshwane University of Technology. Thank you for your time.